We've had so many challenges from obviously 9/11, which was a big flagship for the insurance industry. We've had continuous floods. We've had the terrorism issues. We've had obviously now we've got the pandemic issue, and it's a moment for the industry to, I suppose, demonstrate its value in so many ways. So we're here now, and I think there's been a lot of challenge with regards to policy cover, policy triggers, and this is where the broker and insurer can work in harmony to work out the best solution for the end customer. Hopefully we can talk about that as we progress this conversation.
Absolutely. And I think you've said both words there. Challenge and opportunity are different sides of the same coin. And the industry's obviously had a lot of challenges over the years. You've just highlighted quite a few of them. What do you think the impact of the particular challenge we're in at the moment, the pandemic off the back of the last few years of the industry, what do you think the impact of that's going to be globally and particularly in the market over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, good question. I think, first of all, I really don't have a crystal ball as to what the impact's going to be. All I do know is that our reputation is being challenged. I do know there's been a lot of commentators talking about how insurance hasn't triggered when they all expected policies to trigger. I think this is a global event of unprecedented proportion. The insurance industry had not predicted or underwritten for a pandemic. Some of the policies that are currently triggering are because of what we regard as either sloppy underwriting or, I suppose, boilerplate clauses, or just failure for insurers to update their wordings. The more specific covers that have been applied, like Wimbledon, has been raised as a good example, is where the customer wanted specific pandemic cover. And I've been working in the insurance industry for 40 years plus, and in broking for the 38 years. And in that time, I've never had a client to say, I've got a blank checkbook, tell me what I need to be covered, and I'll pay for everything that you recommend. I've never had that conversation. So we have, I suppose, progressed through our careers talking about the known risks, and then the unknown risks that have occurred over the last 10 years, like terrorism has raised its head, cyber, directors and officers liability, employees practice liability. So those events have been foreseen, have been underwritten, and insurance is available for those sorts of issues. But pandemic has never been freely available, and we are now in uncharted territory. I've been quoted, and I'm happy to share again, I think globally, governments around the world have spent in excess of $8 to $9 trillion. The entirety of the insurance sector is about 2.2 trillion globally, and we would have been wiped out had we been paid every single claim that people could have potentially claimed for. So this is uncharted territory. Policy triggers are incidental and accidental, not necessarily thought through. And as I say, one of the outcomes of this is insurers will look at very closely how they distribute their products, how they distribute capacity, how they distribute policy wordings and endorsements, and it will have a lasting effect. I'm sure you'll have seen most insurance companies' balance sheets have been severely challenged and diminished. And remember, most people that you're talking to today, and all the guys who are going to listen in on this conversation, will have pensions. And most people's pension funds will have been impacted because this is just such a global event. It's impacted share prices globally, and people's pensions are also at risk. I think the other thing that came to mind the other day, a couple of weeks ago, more than 50% of all employees in this country are currently paid for by the state, whether you're in the NHS or the public sector, and or claiming now employment benefits or pension credits. That is a staggering number. So the ship, as the Chancellor has said, has got to be righted, and I don't know how he's going to do it and when he's going to do it, but we're in uncharted territory. The government's going to have to borrow money that we haven't seen. It's been eye-watering. So I think the lasting impact is global, not just the insurance sector, of which we are important constituents. So I think there will be many, many things that will change, and far too numerous to mention now. But even working habits, Are people going to be wanting to work from offices anymore? How are they going to travel? I think we've all seen the benefit of the last 10 weeks of lockdown, where the atmosphere is breathable. You can now see the blue skies of Delhi, there's fish in Venice, and the ozone layer in China has severely dropped. So, I think it'll be a massive wake-up call. How long that feel-good factor lasts is another thing altogether. But I think as we are at the moment, there'll be some fundamental changes in every sphere of life.